Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of our open mic program. 2 open mics today. We'll be talking with Dennis Cavanaugh here in just a moment. But stay tuned. We'll be talking with Congressman French Hill immediately following today's program of Winter Weather Advisory Week, as we're talking with warning coordination meteorologist Dennis Cavanaugh. And Dennis, today we're talking about winter weather watches, warnings, and advisories. What's the difference between the winter ones and the ones we see for severe weather advisories and warnings?
So when we issue winter storm watches, warnings, and advisories, we typically have, a decent amount of lead time. So, severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, sometimes we only have, 10 or 15 minutes of lead time before that happens. For winter storms, we usually know they're coming at least 24 hours in advance. So, you'll get a warning that comes out usually the day before it happens, the night before it happens, so on and so forth, to give you an idea that, something bad is about to happen within the next 12 to 24 hours. And that's where the warnings and advisories are going to come into place. Ideally, we see that there's a dangerous winter storm coming several days out, and that's when we would issue a winter storm watch. Because the further you are out in time from an event, the lower your confidence is. So, but if we think something bad is coming, we'll go ahead and issue a watch. And that basically gives folks an idea that, hey, you've got a couple days, you might want to prepare for what's coming, get some resources, make sure you've got ways to keep yourself and your family warm just in case the power goes out. And then once we get to the warnings and advisories, again, that's when we're expecting things to start to happen within the next 12 to 24 hours. And the types of warnings and advisories we've been trying to limit them. We used to have tons of them, but now it's basically limited to a winter storm warning or a winter weather advisory. Those are going to be the most two common. And we also have, if we're just expecting freezing rain and ice, we can issue an ice storm warning. And so that would be very specific for, a catastrophic ice storm, which, is a whole different ballgame than snow and sleet. This year, we are changing our criteria for issuing winter storm warnings a bit. In the past, we've issued winter storm warnings for snow for any storm system that we think is going to bring 4 inches of snow to the area in 12 hours, 6 inches of snow to the area in 24 hours. We've gone ahead and simplified that criteria to simply be 4 inches of more per event for any part of Arkansas that we cover. And we also have the leeway to issue winter storm warnings for lower snowfall amounts if it looks like that snowfall is going to cause significant travel hazards. We typically would stick to the 4-inch criteria for issuing a winter storm warning for snow, but if those lower amounts, we would be collaborating with the Arkansas Department of Transportation and, some of the surrounding weather service offices so that we have one consistent message going out to the public with a focus on impacts. We really want to issue these things based on what it's going to do to you and the community and not just tied to a simple accumulation amount. The accumulation matters, but we care more about the impacts. And one additional warning we have this year is called the snow squall warning, and that's going to be very rarely issued in Arkansas. This is more for areas that have big lakes, like in the upper Midwest, where you have all the Great Lakes and you get lake effect snow all the time. That's typically when you'd get a snow squall warning. It's when you're going to get a band of very intense snow that could drop snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches an hour, but it's going to move by pretty quickly. It's basically the winter weather equivalent of a severe thunderstorm warning. Those would be issued but with like an hour in advance. If we see something moving across the state really quickly, it's just to let you know conditions are going to get bad briefly and then they're going to improve. We haven't had an event that would warrant a snow squall warning since 2015. I don't anticipate that we would have one this year, but we just wanted to let people know that it was an option because that's one of those things that could pop up on your cell phone if a band of intense snow was approaching you.
Now, also, what about the travel advisories? Those are something that you guys have issued as well.
Yeah, and the travel advisories now, and instead of issuing something called a travel advisory, we have something called a significant weather alert or a significant weather advisory. And we can issue those for anything. Anything for thunderstorms that aren't going to quite be severe, but might produce, gusty winds that could still be hazardous, or small hail, that you might want to avoid. And so, we could issue basically that special weather statement or special weather advisory for something that's not going to have significant impacts. For instance, like you might get some black ice on bridges and overpasses, but otherwise your roads will be okay. That might be something we issue a special weather advisory for, because in general, the road conditions are going to be okay. But if you hit a bridge, it could be really dangerous.
We've been talking with Dennis Cavanaugh. He's the warning coordination meteorologist here on KFFB's Open Mic. Special week this week. It's Winter Weather Awareness Week. And tomorrow we'll be talking about winter weather safety rules. And join us Friday, the cold of winter. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Coming up next on our Open Mic as we continue after this break, we'll be talking with Congressman French Hill. It's all up next.